Okay. Okay, so for teaching task 2, I'm going to go over my lesson plan with you. I have 8 minutes, and the lesson plan is for a group of 26 Year 7 students from Coffs Harbour. So the subject is English. The unit is a poetry unit, and the topic for this lesson is similes. In the lesson focus, I've got the purpose of this lesson is to teach students what a simile is, how to identify and interpret them. The lesson context, I've got this is the 3rd lesson in a series of 6 lessons looking at poetic devices. In the last 2 lessons, the students learnt what a metaphor was and practiced how to identify, interpret and write them. And in the next lesson, students will look at similes again and learn how to write them for themselves. Outcome indicators that we're looking for. On completing this lesson, students should be able to define a simile. So, what is it? Identify similes in text. So, similes that have been written by other authors in poems or creative writing or even in music, and interpret authors' intended meaning for similes. So not only be able to say this is a simile because it says like or as a something, but be able to give their interpretation of what the author was trying to say by using a simile. The learning resources for this lesson are a computer, PowerPoint, whiteboard, and different coloured markers. Okay, so for the introduction, between 0 and 5 minutes, the students will be invited to take a seat as per the seating plan. I will take the roll and welcome the students and remind them of the current unit that we're working on, which is poetic devices. I will recap last lesson's content, which is metaphors, and introduce this lesson's class content, which is similes. And then the students will watch it's about a 3.5-minute video, which is an illustrated an illustration entitled "Become a Slam Poet in 5 Steps," and it's like a TED presentation, and it's just quite a cool, creative way to get them thinking outside of the box in terms of what is poetry and who enjoys poetry and who can write poetry. Okay, just trying to make sure that I stay on time here. Okay, so then from minute 6 to 8, the teaching strategy will be numbered heads, and I'll get the students in groups of 5 to number off and discuss between themselves what they believe a simile is. Minutes 9 to 11, I'll get the students back together and use the graffiti method, selecting a number at random, maybe number 3s, and asking those numbers to hop up and write on the board in a set coloured pen what their group decided was the definition of a simile. And I assume that there will be converging ideas there. Some people will be writing the same thing again and again, and some people will write not a lot and probably won't even know how to define a simile. Between minutes 11 and 12, as a class, we will have a group discussion where we will expand upon whatever is written on the board. So clarifying where something's been written which is incorrect, and really honing in on things that have been written which are correct, and just expanding upon that general knowledge. From minutes 12 to 14, we will clarify the definition of a simile and compare and contrast it to the definition of a metaphor, which was covered in the last lesson. I find in classrooms that the children often forget which is a metaphor and which is a simile, or if I ask them to give me a simile, they give me a metaphor. So I think this is important to make sure they remember exactly what a metaphor is and what a simile is, and remembering to highlight keywords as, like, and is. From minutes 50 to 20, I'm going to show them the stimulus photo, which is at the end of the document I've forwarded on to you. Students will be given 5 minutes to attempt to write one simile in response to this stimulus photo. As is happening, I'll circle the class and give active feedback as students write. I find they often need a lot of prompting and encouraging and just kind of cheerleading, I suppose, that, you know, what they're doing is valid and to keep going. From minutes 21 to 23, students will be invited to share similes with the class. Hopefully there'll be some volunteers. If not, I'll write a couple of examples on the board on the spot with them. From minutes 24 to 25, there'll be a group discussion where I'll invite students to share why they think authors would choose to use similes rather than just saying things plainly. From minutes 26 to 28, I'll write on the board, "Love to see you shine in the night like the diamond you are." I'll ask students who recognises the simile that I've just written on the board, and hopefully it will be identified as lyrics from Khaled's song Better. If not, let them know that's where it's from. And then I'm going to ask the students to think what Khaled might be meaning. I'll take responses and share and discuss the responses. From minutes 29 to 31, I'll write the example, "I love it when you are being you at night," and just compare that with the simile, and ask students to compare this sentence and to ask them which one they prefer, why they prefer it, which one seems more meaningful, etc. From minutes 32 to 40, the students will move to learning stations. I'll hand out 5 different worksheets, small short worksheets. Each will have just 2 similes by popular music artists on them. And students will be given 8 minutes to work in these small groups where they can come up with possible meanings for these given similes. From minutes 41 to 45, we will come back together as a group and share the simile meanings and talk about how meaning can be derived by looking at key words in the similes and what kind of images those key words evoke. From minutes 46 to 50, I'll remind the students that we have been looking at similes. I'll quickly cover the key points, such as the keywords like and as. I'll let them know that next lesson we'll be covering alliteration, which is the next poetic device. And I'll ask the students to pack up books and pens, pick up any rubbish on the floor, stand and push in their chairs before being dismissed. And that is everything in that lesson plan. Thanks.